Welcome. Welcome to New Light Living Podcast. I'm Ulrika Sullivan. I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach and a galactic astrologer. This podcast episode is a co-creation between hypnotherapist Elizabeth Catherine and myself. And we're going to talk about hypnotherapy and discovering your soul's journey. My guest, Elizabeth Catherine, she has been hosting workshops in self hypnosis and past life regressions since 2013 with the intention and goal to provide a space for self-healing and mystical experiences. She's also an advocate for empowering individuals to create their own lives according to the vision they hold for themselves and providing the tools to help them achieve success. Elizabeth Catherine is a hypnotherapist certified through Southwest Institute for Healing Arts and Past Life Regression Therapy certification through Dr. Brian Wise. She's also a trained Usui Reiki master and holds a BFA in illustration from Ringling College of Art and Design. All right, so let's dive into this episode, Hypnotherapy and Discovering Your Soul's Journey. With me today, I have a beautiful guest, Elizabeth Catherine, and we are going to co-create an episode focusing on hypnotherapy and the soul, discovering the soul's journey. I'm so excited to dive into an expert in this field around hypnotherapy and talk a little bit about how we can expand and discover our understanding about our soul journey in more depth. So welcome, Elizabeth Catherine.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, and I can't wait to dive into this topic with you because as a galactic astrologer, often we focus on the astrology and the alignments and the placements that we can discover in somebody's chart. But what some may not think of is that there's a whole other side to this practice that has to do with the soul journey and what beautiful discoveries we can make about our soul journey. And hypnotherapy is such a deep topic, but I was so excited when I had a chance to invite you to explore this side of a soul's journey from that angle. So yes, I'm super excited about our conversation today.
I am too. I'm really looking forward to digging in.
Yeah. So before we start, I'd like to ask you, who are you and what do you do?
So, who am I is a big question, but I'll tell you what I do, and that'll give you some input on who I am as well. So, what I do is I'm a certified hypnotherapist and a Reiki master and a lifelong spiritual seeker. And what I do with my hypnotherapy is we get quiet and go within. And then from that point, we can explore anything we want. We can explore belief changes within yourself, or we can literally explore the universe. It's completely up to you. You can go to past lives. We've gone to future lives. We've gone to the Akashic records. We can do intuitive readings. It's really about getting yourself to that quiet, centered place within you. And from there, literally anything's possible because your consciousness it's not connected. It's not in your body. Your body is part of your existence in this world, but your consciousness isn't tied to you. So we take advantage of that and we like to explore what's out there.
Well, that's such a wide open way of approaching consciousness and our intersection and merge with universal energy, basically. And I love that. So that's a great starting point for this conversation. Now, I'd like to bring it first, and I'm curious about your sense of how this topic is fitting in with the times we're living in. And why do you feel this topic of discovering or exploring our soul's journey, whether it's through, and particularly through hypnotherapy, why is it relevant now?
So my understanding and what I've experienced is mostly that we're safe right now, relatively speaking, compared to all of our long history on this planet and political environments, sure, we have problems and we have big problems, but we're relatively safe compared to where we've been in the past. In my past lives, I've been a Native American healer, a random healer that was associated with a church, a Viking leader, a Buddhist monk. And every single one of those lifetimes, I was murdered for what I did. And it was actually at the Brian Weiss 5-day training that I did for Past Life Regression, which was amazing. And I say this almost everywhere I go. If you have the chance to meet Brian Weiss, meet him. He's one of the most gentle, beautiful souls alive on this planet. I am crazy about what he represents in this world. But while I was at this program, it was one morning, I was out taking a walk, and all of a sudden, after experiencing some of these lives that I just talked about, and many more, those are just the highlights. I think there was one life I've experienced that I didn't die violently in. And I just had this moment. All of a sudden, it just hit me like, we're safe. I can be who I am now, and I don't have to worry about somebody murdering me for it. We're also safe to talk about it. So you and I can connect. And we're so far apart as well. And there's no other time in the world where we can connect with other people openly about these things. And that just leaves a lot of room for exploration. And it's who we are. As they say, I'm going to butcher his name. It's Pierre something French. We are a spiritual being having a human experience. This is who we are. And this is what we are here to explore. And now we're just safe to do it.
That's so beautiful. And what's coming to me is that it's also meant to be an expansion of that understanding that we are part of, because I can imagine as a hypnotherapist also that you work with healing other people, be part of that journey with someone that you're working with to heal energetic trauma, basically, to help enable or allow an expansion to happen, to go from contraction to expansion, basically, energetically. So
Right.
that's what comes to mind when you describe a little bit of your own journey as far as being safe, not feeling, basically working with the energy of fear, and to allow that to be part of the past.
Exactly. And that's part of just re-experiencing when we're talking about past lives, the re-experiencing of these lives and then the reflection. And all the healing doesn't happen while you're in the hypnosis session, like with me. And there's been so many of us that have lived that path, that have been murdered millions of times for just trying to do what we're naturally here to do, which is explore our spirituality. And so, yeah, we do a lot of that letting go and clearing out. And it's not we, it's you, it's the client, it's the listener, because I'm just guiding, I'm just saying words, and you're allowing yourself to have the experience and to have the healing. And that keeps going. It comes back in your dreams, it comes back in your ponderings. Says anytime you're getting quiet, you're reflecting and growing and allowing these changes and healings to take place.
Yeah, that what you just said there is probably one of the most fundamental advice of our time, is to allow ourselves to get quiet and listen within. And once we start to be interested in that and feeling that is actually bringing something, that's when transformation often starts within a person.
Yeah.
Beautiful. For you, you shared a little bit of your history, and is there anything you want to share that you feel is important for this conversation as far as how you got to where you are now today and on that path of your own discovery of your own soul's journey?
So my journey started the minute I was born. I grew up with basically two fathers, my dad and then a Catholic priest that my family was close to. And he raised us, like we saw him almost more than my dad, who was running his own business and remodeling a house and just so busy. And the Catholic priest, we called him Father. He was over every day off. So it was like Tuesdays and Wednesdays or whatever. And we'd go and do fun things and go out to eat and go to Great America, the amusement park, and all sorts of fun stuff. But he was one of the good ones. And he had this message of love. And he was so connected. He had seizures, petit mal seizures, so he wouldn't be shaking and things, but he'd disconnect and almost like a trance-like state. But he was always talking about God and love, even when he was having seizures. And he really set the stage for me, I think, for my life, and really connected me. And he was all about love. You felt the love coming off of him, and everything was funny, and nobody ever made him like super mad. At least the kids didn't. It was just, everything was hysterical. We used to jump on his stomach to wake him up in the morning when we would stay at his cottage in Wisconsin. And he'd laugh. We were like 3 or 4-year-old kids jumping on his stomach. And he just thought it was in pain, but he was still laughing. And he just, so much love coming off of him. So I think he really instilled that feeling of love and seeking in me and looking forward to spirituality. And somewhere in middle school, I left the Catholic Church ideals behind because I have a brother he wasn't even out yet, but I knew he was gay. And I remember the Pope on TV saying, it's wrong to be gay. And I was like, all right, I'm out at that point. And I started exploring spirituality on my own and started getting into more of the metaphysical. Although it was always part of me, I always have had prophetic dreams and a really high sense of intuition. My family we grew up in a haunted house. So there was that side of it where we always felt the spirits and things like that going on in the house. And then as I got off into college, I really dug into more like crystals and more spirituality type things. And then I met an Indian spiritual teacher and did that for a while. And that was also all about love and compassion and kindness. And so things just kept coming up in my life, leading me to this seeking deeper and deeper love and compassion. And of course, I like the fun metaphysical side of things as well. But to me, that's just more fun and exploration. But to me, it's all about digging deeper and keep finding ways to present myself as a loving individual and being, and to feel that and really embrace it in myself, because I have a ton of flaws, as we all do. And so it's just always been about whittling those down and keep trying to be better and better every day. So it's been a
Yes.
long journey. And then, of course, the hypnotherapy training and the past life regression and all of that. But it's been a long journey of just self-discovery and love since I was born.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure many who are watching or listening to this can identify themselves in a similar journey where the discovery and opening to see ourselves as a bigger soul in a human body is really an eye-opening experience as we go deeper with it. Have
Yeah.
you and also, so this is a question that I'm curious about, how you are seeing with that knowledge and with your profession as a hypnotherapist, how do you in your life link back to past lives based on your journey in this life? Are you reflecting on if there's, and this is, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
if there's, you can identify with energy that you're working on in this life from other past lives, whether on Earth or elsewhere? Because I think what we're talking about here is to link back to our bigger self, and that this life is not necessarily happening in isolation.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I see time as a compression. And it's like almost like a really tiny sandwich that you can expand. If you had those ones that you rehydrate and it expands back up. And I don't know why sandwich was the example, but it's like a compression, and we're living in the expansion. And so all of those parts of you are part of you now. And so it's really hard to explain, easier to experience, but to me, all the parts and all the people that I've been are within who I am in this moment at all times. And I don't really ever let that go. And I remember to work through the things as they come up as well. So I come out of the compression and walk the healing path along the way, if that makes any sense.
Yes. No, and I think that's the insight many times that we may come into, that our soul is not separated in this life from everything else that has been taking place on our soul's journey for eons. We're
Right.
all the same. And when we open up to an insight like that, it becomes things that are happening in this life may be sometimes seen in a different light because of that bigger perspective. And I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Everything we've ever done is affecting everything we do.
So what would you say would be or is the best thing that has come out of your journey and your profession and your own awakening to your own soul's journey? What's the best thing that has come out of it?
So for me, it's been self-forgiveness, because on one aspect, because I can see over so many lifetimes, if I'm watching myself in another life, I have more compassion for myself because it's already happened. It's already in the past. And even in this life, I've learned that yes, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, but I also am a human being. Stop there. And I have hormones and neurotransmitters and survival instincts that are all working against my spirituality at times, the spiritual being inside. And so I've learned to be really gentle with myself with my mistakes, because, like I always say, there's probably a line of people behind me waiting to make complaints. I'm not perfect, but I've learned to not let that destroy me and not let that frame who I am. And I keep trying every day to just be better and just present myself in a loving way and make loving spiritual connections everywhere I go. And so it's a non-spiritual answer in a way where it brings me back into my human self, where I'm saying, I'm not perfect and I'm okay with that. And it's taken a long time to get to that point, but I feel that's one thing that I've really, at this point in time, that's really helped me the most with this whole journey of self-discovery.
Oh, so much wisdom there. Beautiful. Now, if someone who is listening or watching to this would be curious to go deeper with this topic themselves, what are some of the tips that you would give someone like, oh, this is really speaking to me, right? I want to go explore. Where would you start? What are some of your recommendations?
First of all, for me, a lot of things come from books. I love reading. I listen more than I read these days because I have kids, and somehow either they've not given me enough time to read or scrambled my brain enough so that it's hard to actually sit down and focus on a sentence sometimes. So I like to listen, and I like to let it pour over me. And Wayne Dyer was a big influence on me in the beginning. Not maybe as much with hypnotherapy, but the way he talks about intention, it's very similar to the way your mind works when you're in hypnotherapy. So the two sort of blend for me. And whenever we're working with belief change and intention, it works so cohesively with the way your subconscious mind works when you're in hypnosis. That was a big one. I think it's Power of Intention is his biggest book, and that's the one. And then Brian Weiss, of course. Same Soul, Many Bodies is the one that I love. If you've never experienced past life regression before, obviously start with Many Lives, Many Masters. That's his first. He likes to joke that it's his second book because his first book was like some sciencey thing that he wrote, but that's his big number one book. And then for me also, I would recommend being quiet. I had a life-changing experience the other day. My phone died and I had to go to lunch, and I was 10 minutes early, and I just sat there with no phone waiting for my friends. It was amazing. I was like, wow, this is life transforming. I need to leave that thing home more often. And I do like to leave it home, but that one day in particular when I wasn't expecting it, I watched the trees, I watched the people. It was beautiful. So quiet down, put the phone away, and make time for yourself to contemplate. Doing the dishes, taking a walk, whatever it is. I love to go for a walk without my phone. Somehow just knowing that it's there is distraction enough. I just leave it at home and take a walk. And then meditation and hypnotherapy will really help you focus and get that quiet. it's really just all about getting the quiet, which is
Mm.
so hard to do these days.
It is, yes. And I love that you brought up the importance of intention,
Mm,
because
yeah.
that is really part of what we can do more intentionally. If you
Right.
really, for example, take 10 minutes a day to intentionally be quiet, it's a different power behind that than just
Yeah.
saying, okay, I'm going to spend my 10 minutes without, intention really. But what you're bringing up is really what can make complete difference to that quiet time. Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
beautiful.
Because otherwise you're just making a grocery list in your head instead of being quiet
Yes.
or
Yeah.
planning a party or whatever it is that you do when, whatever it is you do with your life. So,
Yeah. What are some, if there's something you want to just share in terms of what you commonly experience with clients after they've had sessions? Is there something that is a common denominator as far as the expansion, potential expansion, or insights that you have seen in clients as a result of hypnotherapy? What would you say? I'm sure there's a plethora of
yeah.
intentions why people come to someone like you as a hypnotherapist, but it's if something in general that you see over and over again being there as a result of that
So
experience.
I think what we're talking about intention, and that does have a huge effect on what you're going to get out of it. But one common thread that I try to sew into hypnotherapy is this feeling of universal love. Because for me, what I've experienced in my own seeking is this immense amount of love that the universe has for us. And it just pours into you. If you open up to it, it pours in. It's like they're waiting for you. They're just out there, whatever that presence is that we're feeling. And to me, I feel it's the everything. It's all of us. And that love just pours in when you open to it. And I try to weave that into almost every session that I do, both on the podcast or with clients or anywhere I do hypnotherapy. I weave this thread of love through it and this connection to that feeling of universal love. And I've seen so many people they just come out and they're just cozy and just lovey and sweet. And it's a transformation for sure. But aside from that, of course, I've seen a lot of clarity is the other thing. We tend to gain a lot of clarity with hypnotherapy because you're experiencing it. I'm giving you suggestions, but you're experiencing and learning yourself. And so it's not like someone's preaching to you. You're having the experience. And so when you gain clarity or something, it's coming from you. And so it sticks and you believe in it and you trust it because it came from you.
So powerful. Yes. And this is a very expansive time we're in. So it's right on time to be able to start relating to that bigger self, that whatever we want to call it, but also connect with that universal love that is available. And more, as I experience too, more and more are curious about leaving the traumas behind or work through them so that that door can open to universal wisdom, universal love, because it can be hard if we have a lot of walls up, right, within
Right.
ourselves. Yeah, I truly feel that the work that you do and in this field that works to support others opening up to their true selves is a really important part of the evolution that we're in.
That's why I do it because
Yes.
I feel that way too. And I
Thank you
mean,
for doing it.
I hope it comes to be true. I always say in
Yeah.
my wildest dreams, what I'm doing is helping people to feel better and to be more connected with love in the hopes that they go out and touch someone else's life. And then that person feels the love and the connection, and then they connect with someone and touches their lives. And then we just heal the world and all the problems go away.
Yeah, and that experience, that personal experience that you refer to is often what is needed to be able to truly embrace that inner knowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I am very excited to bring you to my audience. And I know that there will be a lot of people. All right, let's dive deeper into this topic. So, where can we find you, Elizabeth
So
Catherine?
my website is just elizabethcatherine.com, and it's Catherine with a C. And there you can find my private sessions. I'm working on a few retreats that are not quite posted yet. And there's a link to my podcast, or you can also just go directly to Self Hypnosis for Healing podcast on any of the major podcast networks.
Beautiful. And lastly, before we close this beautiful conversation, what is something that you live by?
Oh, something that I live by. Let me see. I think I wrote something down here. Right. Yeah. I think I've already said it maybe 15 different ways, but I like to connect with people, and I never stop connecting in love. And even if I feel bad about myself, I can go out and connect with a stranger at the store and make them have that, like maybe someone checking you out, and tell them a joke, make them laugh, make their day a little less boring, and give them that connection point. And I'm always looking for ways to connect with people and try to stay in the feeling of love. And even if I've messed up somewhere else, doesn't mean that I have to be a mess up everywhere. I can still connect with people in the feeling of love, even if someone's mad at me.
So beautiful. Isn't that also what we're, thank you for sharing that. Isn't that also what we're ultimately want, that connection with other souls and feel that universal love that we're
Right.
all carried by if we allow it to be that
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Because love is that love that we can feel when we're meditating. That's in all of us too. And that's what you feel when you have those little moments of connection. It's all the same thing.
Thank you so much for guesting us here on New Light Living podcast to shine some light on the topic of our soul's journey and particularly through the practice of hypnotherapy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun.
Thank you for listening and watching New Light Living podcast. And I can't wait to come back with another video for you. And thank you so much, Elizabeth Catherine.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.